Welcome to Alyvix. This video tutorial presents a complete example showing how to build and run an Alyvix test case for SAP's Solution Manager. In this video, we'll look at how to visually monitor work items in SAP using the role of a solution architect. Alyvix uses Solution Manager's existing user interface, acting like a human user, so you don't need to make any changes to SAP software to use it. Hi, I'm Charles, technical writer and video tutorial lead with the Alyvix project. If your company has a lot of resources invested in business services like those on SAP platforms, then downtime and slowdowns just waste those resources, whether it's money or your employees' time. Alyvix can regularly check that web apps like Solution Manager are always working so that everything runs smoothly. So let's see how we can use Alyvix to test a typical SAP business service. Usually you would build a test case before running it every few minutes. But let's turn that around here and look at the run first so that we know what we'll be building in this tutorial. The runtime component is called Alyvix Robot. Once you've built a test case, you can run that test case from the command line, and Alyvix will then step through the interface actions you configured in Alyvix Editor. You can then schedule Robot to run the test case multiple times, collecting the results that show your application's latency and uptime. Alyvix runs the test case as fast as your hardware and software allow, much faster than a human could do it. And since it's a bot, it runs all day long. Now let's go to Alyvix Editor and begin building the test case we just saw. Our first step is to log in. Here we need to show Alyvix where it can find each of the interface elements. First, we'll set an anchor to make sure we're in the right application. Then we'll tell Alyvix where to put the username, the password, and where to click on the login button. And once we find each field, we need to tell Alyvix which piece of text to put in that field. During real usage, we would encrypt our credentials, but since this is an online demo, the usernames and passwords are already publicly exposed. Check out our other videos on how to encrypt your credentials. Now we just need to give this step a name, set a timeout limit, and add it to the script for Robot. Solution Manager is a web app, so we need to launch the browser and point it to the right URL. The browser also needs to be full screen size so that the interface will always have the same appearance. A quick test run will make sure it works and advance the interface so we can work on the next step. Our next step will only check how long it took for the main action menu to load. So we'll tell Alyvix which interface elements indicate just by their presence and position that the page has completed loading. So we don't set any actions on the right side, we just name the step, make sure the measure flag is set, and add it to the script. So at this point, we've logged in and arrived at Solution Manager's landing page that contains tiles for each possible action, determined by the role that we logged in with. At this point, we can create a separate test case for each desired destination. Let's set up this test case to check the section called My Work Items. A click on the appropriate tile is all we have to do to get started. Note that at no point have we needed to write any code to step through the SAP interface. Loading this section takes a lot of time, so it's one of the principal measurements we want to report. Since Solution Planner puts up an animated loading box, we just need to wait for this box to appear and then disappear. We set the image options to better match that box, and then the rest is just like any other step. We just need to ensure the measure box is checked so that when a run with Alyvix Robot ends, the amount of time taken is reported under the name of that step. We're now in the section we want, so let's use Alyvix to check that it's actually functional by looking at some item details. As we set up our test case, we're not limited to interacting with just the elements we select. If the layout is standardized, we can also interact with nearby elements. Here, we can click on the second box below if we want to, causing the details of that second item to be displayed. Again, we then give the step a name and set the monitoring parameters, such as the timeout that tells Alyvix how long to wait before giving up on this step, and to not report how long this step takes in the final measurements. Then we run it to set up the next step. The previous step is one that requires a variable amount of load time, so Solution Planner again puts up a loading animation until it's done. Since we've already created a step that's almost exactly the same a minute ago, we can use the duplicate button to copy it and then just change the details. Once you've finished your test case, Alyvix Robot can run it repeatedly, and you can then use graphing software and a monitoring system to check availability and latency of your SAP system over time. Of course, if you're going to run Alyvix Robot repeatedly using the same test case, then the state of the application at the end of that test case must match the application state when it started. With a web app like Solution Manager, we need to log out so that the next time we can log back in again. This is true even if the test case fails, so we also add the logout step to the fail section of our script. We could log out just like a user would, but that requires 3 clicks and thus 3 additional steps. It's faster to insert the logout URL directly into the address bar. We also need to kill the browser, since at the beginning we launched it maximized and in private mode. To do this, we select our root node, the kill command, and then choose the browser from the drop-down list. This list is already populated with currently running applications. We put this step in the exit section of our script since we kill the browser as the very last step, regardless of whether any previous steps failed or not. So there you have it, a complete Alyvix test case that runs a full check on one particular task within SAP's Solution Manager. By integrating Alyvix Robot with a monitoring system, you can discover when your business services are slowing down or failing, often even before your users do. Using a separate test case for each commonly used task, you'll be able to constantly check that all your important business services are up and running, just by looking back at their performance over time. As Robot runs, it collects timing data for every step whose measure box was checked, and when the test case is completed, it shows both the time it took and the precision for each of those steps to match what was shown on the screen. Here we see that the home page was ready in just under 11 seconds. We saw the list of items in just under 12 seconds, and the second item was displayed in less than 1 second. Thanks for watching this Alyvix video tutorial. Be sure to check out the Alyvix website, blog, and user guide at these links here. Happy monitoring!